Today, we are going to be talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Kevin Bacon. Now, I've been wanting to cover Kevin Bacon for a very long time. That's because I don't think he's appreciated as much as he should be. Kevin Bacon is one of the greatest actors of all time. Did you know Kevin Bacon has never won an Oscar or has even been nominated for one? He has won a Golden Globe, but I mean, come on, it's Kevin Bacon. He should have already won an Oscar by now. So today I'm going to go over his top 10 movie performances, and don't worry, I'm gonna shout out a few more movies that he has done, and today it's just gonna be all about Kevin Bacon. Like I said, Kevin Bacon is a Golden Globe award-winning actor. He has been in countless classic movies over the course of more than 40 years in the show business. He is the master of all genres: comedy, drama, horror, action. His performances definitely makes you scratch your head as to why he hasn't even won more awards. His performances can leave you in shock, grief, and sometimes blushing. He's definitely dedicated to his craft, and honestly, I can't get enough of him. Now, before we get into the top 10 performances, you're probably thinking, have you even seen all of his movies? And I want to say yes, I have seen all of his movies. Just joking. I have seen about 90% of his movies. His earlier ones are kind of hard to find. So let's get into his, in my opinion, the top 10 best performance of Kevin Bacon. Coming in at number 10 is The Woodsman. Kevin plays a man named Walter who is released after 12 years in prison for child SA. He tries to get his life back on track. He is able to get a job at a lumber mill. He mostly keeps to himself. He finds an apartment, but this apartment is across the street from a park. Eventually, he will get a girlfriend from work who is played by his wife in real life. Of course, his past life catches up to him. His coworkers eventually find out about his past. So not only is he dealing with that, but he begins to have temptations when he begins a friendship with a young girl. So that is just a little rundown of this film. Now, my thoughts are that it's a very well-made movie despite it having a extremely disgusting subject. It's very thought-provoking. Kevin Bacon has said in interviews, I'm going to paraphrase here, that he isn't afraid to tap into these what people would call monster roles, because sadly, these predators are not scary alien creatures. They are humans that walk among us every day. He says he tries to humanize something repulsive. In The Woodsman, he definitely gives a performance that makes you want to have compassion and sympathy for the main character, who is a child predator. But I'm gonna speak for every sane person who's watched this. We don't have compassion and sympathy for him because of what he has done in his past. He is a child predator. But Kevin Bacon does such a phenomenal job trying to humanize this guy. However, it was difficult to watch because of the dark theme. Slow at times, but overall, his performance at this definitely made me uncomfortable by his portrayal of a child predator. So I think he did this role well. Up next is number 9, and this is going to be the movie Stir of Echoes. Came out in 1999. So if you like supernatural horror mystery, this is definitely the film for you. Kevin plays a blue-collar man. He's married, he has a son. A night out with his friends turns into a life-altering experience after his sister-in-law hypnotizes him. When he wakes up, creepy things begin to happen. He begins being haunted by visions of a missing teenage girl. He wants to solve her case because now it's affecting his whole life. He doesn't sleep. He's going insane. His son can even talk to the ghost of the missing girl. Kevin begins to realize that the house he is leasing from a friend can uncover the truth as to what has happened to this missing teenage girl. I think for this being a late 90s paranormal scary movie, that it was done really well. Some of the graphics are not the best. There's a scene where this teenage boy had red blood on him, and I didn't like the color of the blood, but that's just me being picky. I can get past that stuff. But as for Kevin's performance in this film, it's a scary movie, and a lot of people in the horror genre, they don't get the recognition that they should. And you really see him struggle in this film, see his character struggle in this film, because he's trying to uncover the truth about what happened to this girl. And you see him break down through the film. It's really affecting his whole life. And Kevin doesn't overact this. I definitely think this movie was well crafted, and it does build suspense from the beginning to the end. Coming in at number 8 is Tremors. This movie came out in 1990, and this was, I think, the first Kevin Bacon movie I ever saw. My brother and I watched this movie probably 1,000 times when we were kids. I love it still to this day. Definitely a cult classic in my opinion. I think that they came back with this into a series in 2015. I don't know if it ever aired. I tried to find the answers. I think it was on the Sci-Fi Channel or it was going to be on there, but Kevin came back and so did Fred Ward, the other actor in this film. Rest in peace to Fred Ward. He passed away a few years ago. But if you don't know what Tremors is, one, go watch it. This entertaining and original movie is about a small and isolated town that is being haunted and killed off one by one by a underground creature, or as to what other people like to say, a big, giant, nasty worm. Definitely a comedy horror movie. Reba McEntire's in it also. I think this was her first film, but it didn't do good in the movie theaters, and Kevin didn't appreciate this film because it was at a time in his career where it slowed down a little bit. His wife was pregnant with their first child, and he was upset doing this film, but it became a huge hit with VHS rentals and Blockbusters and Family Video, and it became a classic, and his appreciation grew for this film as time went on. And his wife went into labor on the last day of filming, which I thought was a fun fact. But if you like goofy, scary movies, I definitely recommend this one. Kevin plays Valentine, Val. He's handsome, it's out in the desert, and he's trying to fight a creature. Up next for number 7 is A Few Good Men. I have seen this movie 1,000 times. I think my dad has too. Anytime it's on TV, he watches it, I watch it, I have it. This movie came out in 1992. It has Tom Cruise. It has Jack Nicholson, Demi Moore, and of course, Kevin Bacon. Now, this role is kind of rare for Kevin. Usually he plays a bad guy villain, but in this he actually plays a good guy who is just doing his job. Tom Cruise in this movie plays a military lawyer defending 2 U.S. Marines charged with murder. However, upon his team's investigation, suspicions grow on the colonel, who is played by Jack Nicholson. And Kevin plays the prosecutor who's going up against Tom Cruise.
Standard operating procedure, Rifle Security Company, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Now, I assume we'll find the term code red in its definition in that book. Am I correct?
Now, Kevin isn't playing the lead role, but he holds his weight against the lead actors so well. And again, he doesn't overact. And he's alongside Jack Nicholson in this movie. And he said this was a dream come true because, of course, as an actor, he looked up to Jack growing up. And Jack isn't afraid to not be the good guy, not be the most handsome. He doesn't care if you don't like his character. And Kevin said he's always respected Jack Nicholson because of that.
Lieutenant Kendrick ordered the code red, didn't he? Because that's what you told Lieutenant Kendrick to do.
Object!
And when it went bad, you cut these guys loose!
Your Honor!
You had markers inside a phony transport!
Your Honor!
You doctored the logbook!
Damn it, Captain!
You coerced the doctor!
Consider yourself in contempt!
Colonel Jessup, did you order the code red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
And Kevin plays a guy named Jack in this film, and it wouldn't be the first time. If there's a man named Jack, Kevin's playing it. He's played a man named Jack, I think, close to 10 times now. Number 6 is going to be Apollo 13. Do you want to know what his character's name in this is? Yep, you're right. His name is Jack. And Apollo 13 is about 3 astronauts, Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, and the late Bill Paxton. Their lives are in jeopardy after going into space and their spacecraft experiences internal damage. NASA now has to come up with the plan to have them safely return back to Earth. This movie is definitely filled with tension, adventure, it's a drama history, it's based on a true story. And if you like exploration of space or historical events, this is a good movie for you. This movie is also directed by Ron Howard. In Houston, we do not have a problem because this man directed How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and with that, he deserves the utmost respect. But as for his performance, he plays this bachelor. He's charming, and he's an astronaut, and you get to see him see his character experience sheer panic, thinking that they're not going to come back to Earth. Now, before we get to number 5, I do want to talk about Kevin and his wife. They have been in a lot of films together, and they actually met through movies. His wife for over 30 years, Kyra Sedgwick, beautiful, love her. They met, well, technically the first time they met was in New York City, much younger. He was doing theater, and she came up to him after a show, I think in like a deli restaurant, something like that. And she was just like, hey, you did a good job. And that's it. But they would be reunited years later in the late 80s. They met officially on the set of Lemon Sky. And that's when they went on a date. Kevin said he knew she was the one after she opened up a menu and was appalled by the prices. After Lemon Sky, that came out in 1988, and they would work together. They would work together again in the movie Murder in the First, Cave Dweller, Loverboy. Kevin actually directed that movie. And then Kyra would direct Kevin in a movie that recently came out called Space Oddity. The other ones, Cave Dweller and Loverboy, Kevin had a small role in those films. Murder in the First, Kevin was the lead actor in it besides Gary Oldman. And this film was not my fave, but Kevin does a phenomenal job in it. He plays a prisoner, tries to escape. He gets caught and he gets tortured. But it's also not a well-known film. All right, coming in at number 5 is the movie Sleepers. Sleepers came out in 1996. And I saw this movie a long time ago and I'm traumatized. And this is because of Kevin Bacon's character. He's so convincing, I almost hated him forever after watching it. It's a group of boys that are sent to juvie after a prank gone wrong. In there, they are sexually assaulted by a prison guard played by Kevin. He's truly evil and cruel in this, and he has a laugh where you just want to slap him. He has this evil laugh, and you hate it. You hate him. You believe it. And he's just truly disgusting in this. But karma will eventually catch up to him in this movie.
Yeah, we ain't kids now.
Hey, so what do you want?
What I've always wanted is to watch you die.
You were scared little pricks. Both of yous. All yous. Scary shitless, but I tried to make you tough. I tried to make you hard.
Oh, I had you all wrong then, though. So all this time I thought you just liked f***ing and beating up little boys.
You two motherfuckers are gonna burn in hell. you're gonna burn in hell.
Next in the countdown at number 4 is Mystic River. This came out in 2003. It's a psychological crime thriller directed by Clint Eastwood. In this, Kevin plays a detective trying to solve his childhood friend's daughter's murder. Not only do we see him be a detective, but you get to see a lot of layers to his character. And for each character, Sean Penn, Tim Robbins, and Kevin Bacon, it can show how grief and trauma affects people in different ways. Yeah. Now for number 3, everyone has to have seen this. Footloose. This came out in 1984. It is definitely a classic film. I want to thank Kevin Bacon and everybody who had anything to do with this film because cheesy as it sounds, it really changed my life. I watched it a lot at a time in my life where everything was crumbling as a child, preteen really. I would just watch this movie. Even beforehand, my grandma showed it to us and I wanted to dance and it was an outlet for me. Footloose is about Kevin Bacon's character. He plays a teenage boy named Ren. Love the name, is now living in a very, very small town. They have banned dancing, and he's not cool with that. He loves to dance, and he loves to flip around and do gymnastics. So he is going to fight. He's going to fight for his right to dance. And this film made him a movie star. So, like I said, early in his career, he's a lot younger in this. Cool guy. He defeats the bullies, he gets the girl, and he can dance. All right, for number 2, we have Hollow Man. This came out in 2000, and it is probably the most underrated Kevin Bacon movie and movie in general. This is a sci-fi thriller and truly scary if you think about it. And in my opinion, this is his most dangerous villain that he has ever played because, spoiler alert, he killed a dog in this, and that's just, In this, he plays a man named Sebastian who is a brilliant scientist who would eventually be a mad scientist. He works among other geniuses trying to help the US military make people invisible. They're successful with animals, they make them invisible, but the hard part is trying to have them be visible again. Kevin is cocky and competitive. He goes behind the committee's back, turns himself invisible. He spends a few days being invisible and they can't get him to go back to normal. This makes him go crazy. He hates it at first, but then he begins to love it because he can do evil things and do really horrible things because he's invisible. He did say that it was probably the hardest job he's ever done. He thought it was going to be easy because he plays an invisible character, but he was the green screen. Before we get into number 1, here are some honorable mentions of films that Kevin has done, because they all can't be ranked at number 1, but they will always be number 1 in our hearts. Now, if you want a light Kevin Bacon film, something that's easy, maybe funny, maybe romantic, you don't want something too dark, I suggest Picture Perfect. This has Jennifer Aniston in it. It's a rom-com. Beauty Shop, hilarious. He plays this hairdresser named Jorge that thinks he can mess with Queen Latifah, and he's sadly mistaken. And honestly, when I was watching this, I wasn't expecting his character to be so goofy and funny. And I just bet this was just so much fun to film.
She's having a baby, my baby and me.
This film, She's Having a Baby. Another feel-good movie is He Said, She Said. I'll read you what it's about. Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth Perkins are competing journalists who find love and success as battling co-hosts of their own talk show. But the friction that makes the show a hit threatens to cancel the romance as the lovers discover each has a completely different concept of commitment. Love. Quicksilver. This one was really nice. Whitewater Summer. You think he's the bad guy, but he's just a guy that wants to help these teenagers in not a conventional way. Criminal law, and Kevin plays a serial killer. So if you want to see him do that, that's a movie you would want to see. He did a movie in 2007 called Death Sentence. It's a movie about his whole family crumbling after his son being murdered, and he wants revenge. There is an awesome chase sequence in this movie that literally had me sweating. It's very violent. Without further ado, here is the #1 Kevin Bacon movie in my heart and in my opinion. That is The River Wild. This came out in 1994, and I don't care what you have to say. This is my favorite. One of my favorite movies of all time. This movie has adventure, it has crime, it's a thriller. It's about Meryl Streep taking her son and her husband rafting on a violent river. And then she meets a charming, or what she thinks is a charming, Kevin Bacon. But he carries a dark secret. He needs her help guiding him and his buddy, who just robbed a bank, killed a man, down this river. The beauty of this film is remarkable. The water, the mountains, nature. It has the little boy from Jurassic Park in it who plays Meryl Streep's son. And what I like about this movie so much, besides the adventure and the thriller part of it, is Kevin's character. Meryl's character is smitten with him at first. You think he's charming, he's kind of cute, and he's nice to her son. She's having marital issues, and then she meets this handsome man who's nice to her son. She begins to have a little crush on him, and then boom! He's not a nice guy. He's a villain, and he's just using her because she is familiar with this river and he needs to get down it so he can get the heck out of Dodge.
Hey. What are you guys doing?
We were just gonna go on ahead and be by ourselves for a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah, it is our vacation, and we haven't been alone together all that much.
Thought you guys were running out on us.
No,
I think that's exactly what they were doing, Terry.
But I'm probably going to watch this movie after I'm done. But that is my top 10 favorite Kevin Bacon movies. Kevin is a national treasure who should never be taken for granted. He is a legend that has been in stellar movies. He has definitely made an impact on his audience and I'm sure fellow actors. Truly, truly one of a kind. And I think we should all just tell Kevin Bacon that we love him, that we appreciate him. But I want to know, what is your favorite Kevin Bacon movie? We all know what mine is, but that is going to be it for me today. Again, let me know what your favorite Kevin Bacon movie is, and let me know what actor you want me to do next, or whatever movie topic you want me to cover in my next video. But thank you guys for joining me today. If you made it this far, please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up. I hope you stay safe out there. And as always, please stay golden.